13th century, within a Benedictine monastery in medieval Bohemia, a monk named Hermann committed a terrible atrocity, one which not only broke his monastic vows, but warranted a death sentence. He was bricked behind the thick walls of the monastery, left to starve alone. Before the final brick was placed, Hermann called out for mercy. To humor him, the abbot struck an impossible deal. He was to create a book, a tome of all the world's knowledge combined, and he was to do it in a single night. Desperately, Hermann accepted. The materials were shoved into the small gap in the wall. The monk wasted no time in starting. But as the night went on, reality set in. The task was impossible, and Hermann was doomed to fail. Unless there was one last thing he could bargain with: his soul. That night, the monk exchanged his soul to the devil for a completed book, a monumental tome of the world's greatest works. As a nod of appreciation, the monk drew a full-page portrait of the devil within. The next morning, Hermann handed the book over to the abbot, and his life was spared. This legend, which has been told since not long after the book's creation, does indeed have some merit. There are certain aspects about the book that, to this day, still leave archaeologists and historians confused and unsure how the book, known as the Codex Gigas, or the Devil's Bible, was even written. On top of this, there are legends of a curse that has followed the Devil's Bible throughout the centuries. Without further ado, let's open the pages of this tome and uncover the truth in what makes this one of the most foreboding medieval manuscripts in the world. The Codex Gigas, Latin for giant book. It's known by that name for one reason: its incredible size. 36 inches tall, 20 inches wide, and nearly 9 inches thick. This monumental work weighs as much as a person. At 165 pounds, it requires 2 librarians to lift. Its binding is made from leather and ornamental metal. Its pages are composed of the skins of at least 160 donkeys. Within the book, every page is composed meticulously and with skill no lesser than absolute mastery, down to the illumination of every letter. As described within the legend, the world's knowledge contained within includes the entire Latin Bible, as well as Isidore of Seville's Encyclopedia Etymology, Josephus's Antiquities of the Jews, and Cosmas of Prague's Chronicle of Bohemia. Many smaller texts are dispersed throughout, notably writings on magic formulae, exorcism rituals, and a calendar. As with any decent mystery of history, 10 pages are curiously missing. No one is sure what they contained or why they were removed. Those pages have never been recovered. Besides its physical size, its most famous feature is a bizarre full-page depiction of the devil on page 290. This monstrous creature fills the otherwise empty page in full color and unique detail. With his menacing stare, curved claws, red horns, and 2 tongues. He is naked, with the exception of an ermine loincloth. Historians note that ermine is worn by royalty. In this depiction, the devil wears ermine to signify himself as the Prince of Darkness. What blurs the lines between myth and reality is the bizarre imbalance between the manuscript's relentless attention to detail and its sheer scope. Here's the thing: the text is heavily illuminated. What does this mean? Pages and letters are adorned with masterful skill throughout. Tiny illustrations, elaborate borders, stylized and decorated letters. Incredibly, and some experts say impossibly, the nature of the writing is completely uniform throughout. There are no noticeable signs of change in look or quality, not even in the slightest. We can draw 2 conclusions from this. First, the Codex Gigas was written by a single scribe, Second, the baffling uniformity from beginning to end suggests that it may have been written in a very short period of time. Here lies the issue. The manuscript experts say this is not possible. The immense level of detail and gigantic collections of texts would have taken over 5 years of ceaseless writing, all day and all night, to complete. Even so, this estimate excludes many illustrations. Realistically, the experts state that it would have taken at least 25 years to write, and more likely 30. However, there is still the problem of uniformity. Why does the scribe show no signs of aging, disease, mood, or even increased skill? How can someone write for 30 years without wavering even once in nature or quality? On the other hand, we should take a closer look at the portrait of the devil, as it is clearly one of the book's primary focal points. Throughout the Codex's history, it is likely that the book was displayed with this page open. But what many people don't know is that there is another full-page illustration directly next to it. Though we can't say for sure, experts believe that this depicts the kingdom of heaven. So as the book is displayed open, this double-page spread symbolizes the duality between good and evil. In this case, perhaps the drawing of the devil is a warning from the monk, as opposed to an ode of appreciation. More questions rise when looking into the scribe's signature found within the text. It reads, Hermanus Inclusus. This small detail could either support or undermine the legend of the Devil's Bible. Mysterious origins aside, there is yet another legend that persists with this book. The Curse of the Devil's Bible. Apparently, the Codex Gigas has been through hell through the centuries, and its owners with it. Whether or not it's true, let's humor this for a minute. In the year 1477, 200 or so years after its creation, the Benedictine monastery in Bohemia experienced some serious financial woes. To pay the bills, the monks decided to sell their most precious and long-concealed treasure, the Codex Gigas, to the Benedictine monastery in Brevnov. Soon after, the original monastery was destroyed during the Hussite Revolution. The book was kept in Brevnov until 1593, when they lent the Codex Gigas to Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II in Prague. Of course, to their luck, he decidedly never returned this rental. Why? Historians have revealed just how preoccupied Rudolf became with the Codex, particularly as an extension of his obsession with the occult. As the years passed, his rule became increasingly paranoid and erratic. His family took notice of his obsessive behavior and overthrew his position as king. Rudolf died in 1612, but the Codex remained. 6 years later, the 30 Years' War began. This brutal war ended with the Swedish army seizing the late Rudolf's entire collection of books and art, and discovering its unmissable treasure, Codex Gigas. It was brought to its final home, the Royal Library in Stockholm. But the curse was not yet finished. In 1697, a fierce fire engulfed the royal castle. In a last-ditch effort to save the book, it was thrown out of a nearby window, falling on and injuring an unsuspecting bystander. Throughout the centuries, people have felt and feared its ominous aura. Yet this walk through history raises one last point of curiosity. If this was or is indeed an evil book, we have to face the fact that it somehow survived the Inquisition. During the Inquisition, the Catholic Church had nearly complete rule over Europe, and anything deemed satanic or even remotely against the best interests of the Church was systematically sought out and destroyed, or in the case of human beings, tortured and executed. Much knowledge and historical records were lost in this time, but not the Codex Gigas. In fact, It is one of the best preserved medieval manuscripts we still have today. Yet so many questions remain, like those 10 pages torn and lost. And what of the baffling mystery of the unwavering penmanship of the scribe? As they say, the devil is in the details. Every last letter. Thank you so much for watching.